Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I want to start by setting some expectations. Today is not a technical presentation. We're not having a tool demo, and we're not going to have a fear-based cybersecurity talk. What this is a leadership conversation because right now, AI and cybersecurity are no longer IT problems. These are business problems. They are growth problems and they are trust problems. And leaders who understand that distinction very early are the ones who will win for the next 5 years. Now consider this. According to McKinsey, insurance firms leading in AI adoption have generated 6.1 times the total shareholder returns compared to laggards over the last 5 years. Now, that's just not incremental. That's transformative. But before we go any further, if you're watching virtually, use the chat, drop some questions, drop reactions, or that sounds familiar moments, and I'll reference them as we go along. So today, we're going to cover this. We're going to talk about what is actually happening in AI right now, not headlines, not hype. We're going to dive into real adoption trends and impacts. Second, we're going to talk about why regulated industries, especially insurance, are feeling pressure faster than others with specific regulatory shifts and market demands. Third, we'll talk about what doing nothing is already costing you, even if nothing has gone wrong. Yet, we're going to back that up by hard numbers and inefficiencies and risk. Fourth, what you realistically control as a business leader, including strategic levers that you can pull today. And finally, we'll talk about how firms are turning this moment into growth, efficiency, and leverage with case studies of real-world wins. Now, if you're here with us, type yes in the chat if AI has already come up in leadership conversations already this year, because it has, and everyone is talking about it. AI is the most disruptive force since the internet. And just like the internet, there is no pause button. In insurance, AI is touching underwriting decisions, claims processing, customer communication, fraud detection, marketing acquisitions, and internal operation. But here's the really important part that I believe business leaders don't understand. Your staff is already using AI, whether you approved it or not. They're pasting data into tools, they're drafting emails, they're summarizing policies, and they're speeding up work. And while that creates opportunity, it also creates risk. And ignoring either side of that is super expensive. So to put this into perspective, the AI market in insurance was valued at $8.63 billion in 2025 and is projected to grow at around 27.5% to $59.5 billion by 2033. Generative AI alone in insurance is expected to jump from $1.3 billion in 2025 to $1.77 billion just this year, with 40% adoption for content creation and personalized communications by year end. Insurers are using AI for claims processing, and they've reduced times by up to 40%. And in underwriting, applications are handled 70% faster with maintained or improved accuracy. For example, one insurer implemented AI for quotes and policy sales, moving 80% of the transactions online and boosting customer satisfaction by 36%. Now, cyber attacks are not slowing down either. They're actually accelerating. And AI has lowered the barrier for attackers. While AI makes us more efficient, it also makes attackers more efficient. Phishing emails now sound human. Fraud attempts reference real conversations. And voice and text impersonation is very real. And if you hadn't seen our Twitter post last week, voice and text impersonation is becoming more and more common. And I've heard about it more and more for people in my state. I had heard about it for people in the US. And I actually heard about it from people that I know and that happened to in my state. So again, voice and text impersonation is getting very real. But now in insurance, this means that policyholder data exposure, right? Wire fraud, claims manipulation, operational shutdown during peak cycles, right? All of this is a risk to you, the business owner. And recent reports show a 48% year over year increase in ransomware incidents in 2025, with AI vulnerabilities cited as the fastest growing cyber risk by 87% of surveyed experts. AI powered phishing content rose 46% in 2025, enabling even novice attackers to launch sophisticated campaigns. For instance, deep fakes and voice cloning, again, requiring just 3 seconds of audio for 85% accuracy. Now let that sink in. Just 3 seconds of audio for 85% accurate. How many of you have your voicemail sent to your email? There you go. But this accuracy led to scams like the $25 million wire fraud that happened at Erupt in 2025, where an employee was deceived by a clone CFO voice during a video call. In the insurance sector, ransomware remains the top threat, accounting for 60% of large insured losses, while cyber-enabled fraud affected 73% of respondents or their networks in a 2025 survey. So we've seen it out there, and we've seen it get more and more in 2025. So the big question becomes, are you ready? Not are you ready as in, do you have tools? Are you ready as in, do you have clarity? Do you have a strategy? And do you have governance? With the cyber insurance market reaching $16 billion in 2025 and projected to hit $40 billion by 2030, readiness isn't optional. It's a competitive imperative. And regulators like AIIS are embedding AI governance into standards, with new application papers on consumer protection and supervisory tools expected to influence compliance heavily this year. Now, everyone says to me, well, I'm not worried about it. We're not on the radar. We're too small. Well, if you process payroll or store sensitive customer data or even handle claims or move money, you're already a target. Insurance firms are not a small target. They are data-rich targets. The average cost of a data breach in insurance is around $6.5 million, with global averages hitting $4.8 million in 2025. And that's a 10% increase from 2024. For US firms, it's even higher at 9.7 million in some sectors. And these aren't just financial hits, they include reputational damage, regulatory fines, with 72% of breaches targeting large firms, but small ones suffering disproportionately due to recovery challenges. At the same time, your competitors are not waiting. We're seeing AI used to reduce underwriting turnaround, speed claims triage, improve client communication, and lower admin overhead. The firms winning are not techie, they are intentional. Deloitte estimates that AI-driven fraud analytics could save P&C insurers up to $160 billion by 2032. And some real examples include Avaya saving over $82 million in 2024 through AI transformed claim processing, and another carrier boosting protective customer conversions by 11% with AI chatbots for after-hour service. AI fraud detection has improved fraud rates by 20 to 40%, reducing false positives and enhancing trust. So, what's the cost of doing nothing? Well, doing nothing feels safe, but it's not neutral. The real cost shows up as slow workflows, manual errors, reputational risk, regulatory stress, your talent leaving, and clients questioning your trust. And most of this cost never shows up on a P&L line item until it does. Now, beyond immediate breaches, inaction leads to lost opportunities. AI laggards miss out on 10 to 15% premium growth and 20 to 40% cost reductions in customer onboarding. Cyber claims fell 53% in early 2025 due to better defenses, but without AI integrations, firms faced higher risk. Ransomware alone drove $631,000 in an average claim, with business interruption as the top loss driver. And overall, cybercrime costs hit $10 trillion globally in 2025, underscoring the escalating price of delay. So here's the shift, right? You do not control threats, attackers, or technology speed, but you do control your strategy, your posture, and your partners. Strategy beats panic every time. Focus on building AI governance frameworks that align with emerging standards like those from IAIS or AI risk management, and partners with experts to audit vulnerabilities and have proactive measures that reduce breach dwell times, cutting costs from 5.46 million to undetected attacks over 2 days to far less with a rapid response. You control how proactive you are. You control how fast you pivot, and you control who you trust. Being proactive means investing in AI for predictive analytics, like geospatial tools for catastrophic triage or IoT sensors for real-time monitoring, which minimizes losses. Reactive firms, meanwhile, face 75% of breaches tied to human factors, addressable through training and AI defenses. The winning firms ask better questions. Where does AI reduce friction? Where does it increase accuracy? And where does it strengthen trust? AI without governance is risk. AI with strategy is leverage. For instance, AI agents are projected to cut processing times by 70% across functions by late 2026, with over 35% of insurers deploying them in at least 3 core areas. At Citian Group, we sit at the intersection of AI cybersecurity and business strategy. We help leaders identify real AI opportunities, secure infrastructure before it becomes a liability, and we build trust with clients, carriers, and regulators. This is about confidence, not complexity. Our approach includes tailored assessments, drawing from the benchmarks like the Evident AI Index, which evaluates insurers on talent, innovation, leadership, and transparency, helping you close gaps when laggards fall behind. But again, this is not a tech conversation. This is not an IT conversation. This is not something that your IT people should be involved in. This is a business growth conversation. Technology is just the lever. With AI projected to generate more than $450 billion in economic value by 2028 through revenue growth and cost savings. Reframing it as a growth driver positions your firm for sustained advantage in a market where embedded insurance could exceed $180 billion in premiums by year end. Growth comes from clarity. And that's why we start with a profit and growth strategy session. This is not a sales call. This is a leadership conversation. These sessions draw on real data, like how AI transformations have led to 10 to 20% improvements in sales conversion rates and 20 to 40% reductions in admin overhead, helping you map out actionable paths to leverage. So today we've discussed the real pains, the accelerating cyber threats amplified by AI, the competitive gaps widening every day, and the hidden cost of inaction that are already eroding your edge. If these challenges don't resonate with you, if they're not keeping you up at night, then perhaps now isn't the right time for us to partner. And that's okay. But if they do hit home and you're committed to turn these risks into opportunities for growth and security, then let's make it happen. If you want to clarify if you want clarity instead of noise, book a profit and growth strategy session at https://Citian.group/risk. Again, Cydian.group/risk. And we will sit down and we will have a business conversation about how you can get clarity on your AI. And if you want to go deeper and live with other executives, join us for our upcoming Lunch and Learn. It's going to be Friday, February 27th. That's next Friday at 11:45 a.m. at Fogo de Chão in Jacksonville. This is a leadership level discussion on AI, trust, and competitive advantage. It's not a sales seminar, and seats are limited. You can reserve your seat at Cydian.group/LNL, LNL for Lunch and Learn, 126. That is LNL 126. And if you use the code JAX at checkout, I will let you in for absolutely no charge. It is a $79.99 value. Just use the code JAX at checkout. As always, I thank you so much for being here. We're always on and we're always ahead. And be absolutely kind to each other. Until next week.